As soon as Su Xiaomu opened his eyes, he actually wore a book and even dressed as the child bride of a fallen scholar's family. Because she did not win over the heart of the scholar and husband, the whole family treated her with a face that was not their face, and their nose was not their nose. In order to live better, Su Xiaomu opened his eyes and activated the nonsense mode. Grandma, I didn't run away. I want to send pancakes to my husband. I really care about him. Sister-in-law, I bought the meat for my husband to nourish his body and help him win the Imperial examination soon. Second sister-in-law, I'm going to give birth to monkeys for my husband. Is one enough, not enough? Good, give birth to a bunch. From then on, Su Xiaomu transformed into an obedient daughter-in-law, always thinking about her husband and helping her family find ways to do business and earn money by sending him to take the Imperial examination. However, the scholar and his husband have become iron-hearted after eating a heavy weight. If they stay in the academy and don't go home, they won't marry. Su Xiaomu's surface is whimpering, but his heart is haha. Is there such a good thing? Coincidentally, my older sister has saved enough money, nurtured her body, and the sky is high, allowing birds to fly. Whether you are the top scholar or the flower scout, it's not uncommon, sister. Unexpectedly, a scholar in the city looked straight at her. Miss, you wait, I'll go home and get married to you. The scholar gave her a guaranteed ticket. Gu Jingqing, who was completely opposed to arranged marriage and wanted free love, returned home and was stunned as soon as he took out his divorce letter. Su Xiaomu chuckled and said, Xianggong, I'll take this marriage letter. It can be counted as waiting for this day. Unexpectedly, Gu Jingqing quickly snatched it away and said, where did the lady say that? In heaven, she wishes to be like a bird of wings, and on earth, she wishes to be like a connecting branch. Since she has already married into the door, how can she abandon a wife of waste? Keywords of the novel. After dressing up as the male protagonist of the Imperial examination, I ran away without a pop-up window. After dressing up as the male protagonist of the Imperial examination, I ran away and downloaded the complete text. After dressing up as the male protagonist of the Imperial examination, I ran away and read the latest chapter. Chapter 1. The Crossing of Dog Blood. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Crossing of Dog Blood. I spent 2 taels of silver to buy a wife back for my second brother, but I didn't expect it to be so worry-free. Isn't that right? They all say, marry the chicken and follow the chicken and, marry the dog and follow the dog. Second brother is still a scholar, why did he mistreat her and even think of running away? No, just now I saw my mother giving dozens of copper coins to the doctor, saying she wanted to apply medicine. I think this silver needs to be given a water ticket. Harmful. Su Xiaomu felt as if there was a burning fire all over his body, and his headache was as if it was about to explode. There was also a group of people chattering around him. Last night, she remembered editing a video and unconsciously falling asleep on the table. She was the only one living at home, how could there be any sound of speaking? Is it just a hallucination? But then, a long and tedious memory drifted into my mind. After digesting this memory, Su Xiaomu took a cold breath. Has she traveled? She actually passed through the child bride of a fallen scholar's family. What kind of human suffering is this? And this destitute scholar is a well-known family in all corners of the country. Because Li gave birth to 3 sons and 1 daughter, the youngest of whom, Gu Jingqing, was able to read 100 schools of literature at the age of 3, and at the age of 5, 1,000 words of literature was not a problem. Now that he was only 15 years old, the master boasted that he had talent in high school. 3 years ago, Gu Jingqing suffered from an emergency and could not recover for a long time. Li listened to the fortune teller's words, checked the zodiac signs, and searched everywhere for people who matched the 8 characters. Her father, the original owner, was a generous thug. After hearing about this, he changed the original owner's character and sold him for 2 taels of silver. After the original owner Su Xiaomu married in, Gu Jingqing miraculously recovered from his illness. After waking up, Gu Jingqing became furious when he learned about Su Xiaomu's situation. He claimed that a scholar could not believe this strange and chaotic thing, so he directly asked Li to send the person back. But the illness was strange, and even if it was good, it was also strange. Li didn't dare to joke about Gu Jingqing's life, so she kept him. However, this family is really too poor, with only a few walls around. They can't even eat enough wild vegetables every day. Frugal, all the silver money saved was used for Gu Jingqing's education and repairs. In addition, she spent 2 taels to buy it, making it even worse for this family. The amount of food she eats has already been reduced and cannot be further reduced. However, Gu Jingqing did not welcome her, so Su Xiaomu's identity at home was also very awkward. The original owner Su Xiaomu had a thought of leaving and took advantage of the busy farming season in the afternoon when there was no one at home, so he ran away. Unexpectedly, he accidentally fell into the river and burped his butt when he was caught, while the modern Su Xiaomu walked over. Boil these herbs and give them to her to drink. When she wakes up, send them back. Li walked into the room, her dim gaze hitting her face. Because I have worked hard for half a lifetime, the wind and frost have dyed my temples white, and my face looks particularly sharp and harsh. My mother seems very angry. The originally chattering sister in Law Yin exchanged glances with Chen and dared not speak up. Can Li not be angry? When I first bought Su Xiaomu, my family used all their money to buy him. I thought it was a worry-free option. Although I was a bit thin and weak, I grew a good pair of skin bags. However, I didn't expect that stealing would not backfire. The Gu family has now become a joke for the whole village. Su Xiaomu had originally planned how to solve this dilemma, but upon hearing this, he pursed his lips and opened his eyes wide open. Sending it back is absolutely not possible. The Gu family is at least a farming and studying family, and there is still a glimmer of hope for themselves here. But if I were to send it back and be sold by the original owner's father, my weak body wouldn't even be able to escape now. Mom, don't sell me. I'm not running away, cough cough cough. Su Xiaomu sat up half propped up, his long hair scattered behind his head, and his palm-sized face was incredibly pale, looking particularly pitiful to me. Seeing someone wake up, everyone in the room has different expressions. After Chen's second sister Law was taken aback, she rolled her eyes in anger and said, "You've been caught and lying. You've ruined the face of the Gu family." "I'm not, I just want to go see my husband. I don't want to run away. I want to send some food to my husband. He hasn't come back for a long time, so I want to go and see." Su Xiaomu clenched the corner of the blanket, and his hand under the blanket twisted his thigh flesh fiercely. His eyes instantly turned red, and tears streamed down his face. "I didn't expect to fall into the river, cough cough cough. If you don't believe me, you can go and take a look at my package. It contains a few pancakes for my husband, which I usually don't want to eat and saved up." People who see this look are a bit softened. Li's eyes flickered, gesturing for Yin to go and take a look. Sure enough, only 3 dry pancakes were found. This. Yin took a cake and went to see the expression on Li's mother-in-law's face. Li's eyes flickered slightly. Although these 2 cakes were not worth much money, they were only made during busy farming hours to be so durable and hunger-resistant. She should have saved up these 3 cakes for a long time. For a moment, Zhou's heart was filled with mixed feelings. She never expected that Su Xiaomu would fall into the river because of this. Su Xiaomu sat on the bed crying silently, pitiful. Glancing over Zhou's face at the end of his eyes, he felt a bit uneasy, unsure if he could deceive her. Fortunately, the original owner was a timid person who didn't even bring his clothes, otherwise it would really be hard to explain. After pondering for a long time, Li slowly spoke up, "You'd better not lie. What kind of tricks are you going to do?" I'll sell it to you immediately, no mercy. Li's attitude was very strict, but after all, looking at Su Xiaomu pitifully, her tone of voice slowed down a lot. Su Xiaomu pursed his lips, knowing that Li still didn't believe him, but he still spoke with a grateful and serious expression. Mother, since you bought me, I was born into the Gu family and died into the Gu family's ghost. I know, I have only been here for 2 months, and my mother still doesn't believe me. But don't worry, mother. I will definitely do a good job and earn money to buy meat for my mother and husband to nourish their health. As soon as these words were spoken, Li's expression softened once again. Yin Shi saw the situation and tried to smooth it out on the side. Hee, younger siblings, it turns out like this. I never intended to cause such a big misunderstanding. Hello, take a good rest. My third younger brother will rest on both sides of the Taiwan Strait for a month. Counting the days, he will be back in 3 more days. Please rest assured and take care of yourself. When my third younger brother comes back, you will be able to see enough. If you ask me, Xiaomu is also 15 years old this year and can make a living. Chen also covered her mouth and joked with a smile, when the time comes, give birth to a chubby kid and make my mother happy. Zhou's rigid face showed a hint of smile. Alright, let's go out and let Xiaomu rest well. After taking the medicine, get up and eat. Mom, I got it. Su Xiaomu lowered his eyes and a slight blush appeared on his face, as if he was a bit embarrassed. Zhou was very satisfied, and when everyone went out, the room finally became quiet. Su Xiaomu lay in bed, looking at the dilapidated house, feeling suffocated. Why did you just cross over? And Rocket started the game. He was a child when he was only 15 or 16 years old. He himself is a child, okay. But now, besides the Gu family, where else can she go? Many places are experiencing famine these days, and she is penniless. She is still holding a promissory note in their hands. What are you running for? Where to run? Run back, my biological father may sell her again. Forget it, let's settle for it now. Let's quickly think about how to make money. Other things don't work for her. She can think of a way to eat and save some money to get the sales contract back first, and then leave this place and find a house with beautiful mountains and water to live in. Speaking of it, this money is the foundation. After leaving the room, Li went directly to the main hall, and his sister Law Yin followed behind, speaking hesitantly, Mother, what Xiaomu said. She didn't expect that Xiaomu didn't run away, but went to see Gu Jingqing. Li was still holding a cake in her hand, so she naturally knew what she was going to say. This child doesn't seem like he's talking nonsense, but you've been keeping an eye on him lately. If there's anything, let me know. Yin nodded and turned to the kitchen to prepare for food. Recently, due to busy farming, she only pointed to this meal at noon. But Su Xiaomu drank the medicine and felt a bit bitter in his mouth. He happened to hear the food being served outside, hoping to eat something to suppress the bitterness in his mouth. Just as soon as I got to the table and saw the food on it, I was immediately stunned. What is this? New book. Don't just read books silently, everyone. By the way, you can vote for a recommendation, like, comment, collect, and leave a footprint, which is the greatest support for the author. Thank you all. Momoda wishing everyone a pleasant reading experience and loving you all. Both male and female leads are clean, feel free to enter the pit. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Wild vegetables can also be eaten in various ways. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Wild vegetables can also be eaten in various ways. The Gu family has a relatively large population, and the Yin family has 2 daughters in their big house. The eldest is already 12 years old this year, and the youngest is 10 years old. Yin, the second wife, gave birth to 2 twins. 11 people, but only 10 pancakes were placed on the table. Black noodles and sweet potato pancakes, combined with a large pot of millet soup, are so thin that they can reflect human figures. There is a large plate of pickled vegetable bumps in the middle, as well as a plate of cold mixed wild vegetables. Each person has a bowl of soup, half a cake for women, and one cake for men. The only plate of scrambled eggs with meat and smell, everyone's eyes fixed on their saliva, but no one dared to move their chopsticks. "Alright, let's eat." Zhou spoke up and divided the eggs. "Women don't have them. Mr. Gu and his two sons each have a chopstick, while the rest is divided among a few children." Because he was sick, Su Xiaomu also got a small chopstick. Yin and Li couldn't help but show a hint of envy in their eyes, but in the end they didn't speak. The pickled cabbage was a dark lump, and Su Xiaomu picked up a small piece. His mouth felt a bit bitter, and he didn't care about the spicy millet soup in his throat. He took a big sip to dilute the bitterness in his mouth. But the other members of the Gu family ate very well, as if it had become commonplace. Su Xiaomu sighed in his heart, then turned his chopsticks and added wild vegetables to his mouth. "It's fern, but it tastes raw and astringent, without even blanching water. It seems like it was just washed, sprinkled with some salt particles, and mixed. No one can make wild vegetables so unpleasant. But unfortunately, the other members of the Gu family have a habitual appearance, and eating big mouthfuls is even more delicious." Su Xiaomu let out a deep sigh in her heart once again. No wonder the original owner was running away. With just this level of food, she also wanted to run. "I was a food blogger in my previous life, and my appetite was already nurtured. Eating bran and swallowing vegetables is not a problem, but it also needs to be delicious, isn't it?" Su Xiaomu ate the cake with half a bowl of congee, and went to pick up the dishes and brush the chopsticks after dinner. Now that you are under someone else's protection, you naturally need to work hard and quickly. Yin made a few false stops before being called away by Li. "The work in the field is almost busy. You don't need to go this afternoon. I have saved more than 30 eggs. You can go ask anyone who needs them, and when you come back, go up the mountain to cut some pig grass and dig some wild vegetables." Upon hearing these words, Su Xiaomu, who had finished washing dishes, straightened up and blinked his eyes, leaned in for two. "Mom, I'm not feeling that uncomfortable anymore. Let's go up the mountain with my sister-in-law and dig some wild vegetables later. At this season, there must be a lot of wild vegetables on the mountain. She wants to go and see them. If she eats them once, she won't want to eat them again, can?" Li hesitated a bit, perhaps worried that she might have run away again. Su Xiaomu leaned in, her apricot eyes curved, looking particularly pleasing. "Mom, just let me go. I know you're worried about me. It's okay. I want to dig more before my husband comes back, so that he can eat well and have the strength to study hard." Seeing Su Xiaomu's expectant expression on his face, it was not easy for Li Shi to say anything more than he wanted. "Okay, then wait for your sister-in-law to come back." Yin exchanged the eggs and gave the money to Li, who treasured the money and put it in the cabinet. Yin carried a basket and pulled Su Xiaomu away. Pingfeng village is backed by a mountain and located in a valley with lush grass and plants. However, due to busy farming, there are not many people on the mountain at this time. Yin took Su Xiaomu to an open area halfway up the mountain and bent down to start cutting pig grass. Su Xiaomu glanced around and his eyes lit up. Dandelions, shepherd's purse, there are also ground fungus over there, and broom vegetables over there. There are many delicious foods, but Gu Jia chose the least delicious one during this season. Su Xiaomu lifted the hem of his skirt and started digging. Yin was cutting pigsty next to her, occasionally looking back at Su Xiaomu and realizing that she had no signs of escaping, before letting out a sigh of relief. The basket was filled with pig grass, and Yin was ready to dig some wild vegetables with Su Xiaomu before going back. When I walked over and saw what was inside Su Xiaomu's basket, I was slightly taken aback. "What are you digging for? Is it edible? Can this dark thing be eaten? Koki is not planning to run away and poison the whole family, is he?" Sister-in-law, this is the ground fungus. Yin's expression was too shocked, and Su Xiaomu could easily understand the meaning at a glance. After washing it clean and drying it in the sun, it can also be eaten in winter, explained with a patient smile and curved eyes. Really seeing her resolute words, Yin still felt a little uneasy. Of course it's true, can I still deceive my sister? Law. This is shepherd's purse, making dumplings is the most delicious, and this plantago can be dipped in soy sauce to eat. Su Xiaomu was very knowledgeable, and after speaking, he saw that Yin Shi still had an expression of disbelief, his mouth deflated and he felt a bit lonely. Sister-in-law, in fact, my family used to be very wealthy before, but later on, my father lost all and our family became like this. But you can rest assured that in the past, we had a wall full of books and a rare and exotic herb at home. These dishes were all introduced above, they were very delicious and non-toxic. You can rest assured Yin Shi didn't look like she was lying and didn't say anything when she looked timid. What is said in this book should not be wrong, right? Isn't it because I read too much that my mother values him so much? I just didn't expect that Xiaomu could also read and write. Su Xiaomu breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the Yin family was not digging into the bottom of the matter, otherwise he wouldn't know how to make it up. Now that he has given them a preventive shot, it would be easy to evade if he could come up with a way to make money in the future. As the sun sets, the entire small basket has been dug up unconsciously. As Su Xiaomu passed by a patch of thorns, he saw the bright red fruit hidden inside with sharp eyes. Su Xiaomu's eyes lit up when he saw that it was chili peppers. How could there be chili peppers here? There are really too many delicious foods that this chili can make. Boiled fish, boiled meat slices, stir-fried meat with chili peppers. Su Xiaomu walked over quickly, grabbed a handful and hid it on his body, while remembering his position. He quickly followed in the footsteps of the Yin family. At home, the Li family in the yard didn't speak up in anger. Can you dig a wild vegetable so late? Are you still waiting for me to come back and cook for you? Upon hearing these words, Yin turned pale and said, Mother. Upon seeing this, Su Xiaomu turned his eyes and leaned in, holding on to Li's arm. Mom, it's all my fault. I walked too slowly, it's not my sister-in-law's fault. Don't be angry, okay? I'll go cook with my sister-in-law now. Don't be angry, okay? The soft and petite girl hugged her arm, causing Li Shi to swallow the words she had previously scolded. The children in the family are not very close to her, and several daughters-in-law are also dull one by one. This is the first time someone has been holding her arm and acting coquettishly. When she bumped into Su Xiaomu's curved crescent-like eyes, Li didn't turn her head and let out a light cough. All right, hurry up and cook. I'll be back soon, don't delay. After speaking, I went back to the house. Yin stood beside her for a moment. Her mother-in-law was very powerful. How could she not scold her for half an hour on a regular basis? She just let them go so easily now. Su Xiaomu walked towards the kitchen with a basket in his hand, while also greeting the Yin family. Sister-in-law, come quickly. Her mother-in-law is a paper tiger with a hard mouth and a soft heart, as she could tell from the beginning. However, she is now even more eager to make something to eat. Who said wild vegetables cannot be eaten in different ways? New book. Don't just read books silently, everyone. By the way, you can vote for a recommendation, like, comment, collect, and leave a footprint, which is the greatest support for the author. Thank you all. Momoda wishing everyone a pleasant reading experience and loving you all. Both male and female leads are clean, feel free to enter the pit. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Wild Vegetable Cakes That Can Sell Money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Wild Vegetable Cakes That Can Sell Money. There was a large bowl of corn flour on the stove, and the food was always locked in the cabinet. Li held the key, and the two sister-in-law took turns cooking. Every time, Lee would take out a good amount and put it on the stove. Tonight's meal is corn porridge, and the leftover pancakes from the hot afternoon are just dinner. Ian was about to pour water into the pot when Su Xiaomu stopped her and said, "Sister-in-law, I'll make this meal. I'll make a different one." Can. Ian hesitated a bit, but before she could finish speaking, Su Xiaomu obediently continued, "Sister-in-law, don't worry, it won't cost anything. I'll go tell my mother later that it was my own idea." Thinking of Li's attitude towards Su Xiaomu just now, Ian swallowed back the unfinished words. Su Xiaomu skillfully watered the shepherd's purse to remove its raw and astringent taste. "After rummaging through the kitchen, I found that the seasoning at home was really lacking. I sprinkled some salt particles and dug out a jar of big sauce from the jar in the corner. After mixing it for a while, the dish started to taste like corn flour." After finishing, Su Xiaomu dug out a small jar of lard from behind the stove according to his memory, scooped up half a spoonful, and Yin's eyes widened when he saw it. "Tianyang, it's not enough oil to cook 2 meals normally." Su Xiaomu pretended not to see it, and when the oil was hot, he turned his hand and the pie closed, slamming it onto the bottom of the pot. The aroma of lard mixed with the fragrance of corn flour and wild vegetables quickly spread. After turning it over, the wild vegetable pancake was ready. But Su Xiaomu didn't plan on making the second one. After shoveling it into the plate, he ran to the main hall with the plate. "The rest of my sister-in-law will be ready when I come back. I'll go give my mother a taste first." Li was wearing the faint bright light on the outside of her shoes, smelling the fragrance and lifting her head. Before she could even speak, she handed over a burnt and crispy wild vegetable cake. "Mom, give it a try first. Is it delicious?" Li instinctively took a bite, and the scent of wild vegetables, salty sauce, and minced pork in lard swept through her entire mouth. She has never eaten such a delicious cake before. "Wait, lard." Li's face darkened as she was about to speak when she met Su Xiaomu's curved crescent eyes, a bit timid and shy. "Mom, I secretly used some lard. The corn flour is on the stove and the filling is made of wild vegetables, which doesn't cost much. I thought that my husband wouldn't be able to eat well in the private school, so I wanted to make some food for him and send it over. I don't know if it's done well. What does the mother say?" Li's originally rebuked words were all stuck in his throat. This child really has a heart. The words and lines are all for the sake of Jingcheng, and the pancakes were also the first to be sent over. I may have really wronged her before. It's delicious, just make up your mind. Li nodded somewhat uneasily. Mom, let's have some wild vegetable pancakes tonight. Tomorrow, I'll cook more and send them to my husband, so he can share some with his classmates. These wild vegetable pancakes are common in our countryside, but they are rare in the city. Su Xiaomu blinked his eyes and then left. Upon hearing these words, Li was momentarily taken aback, her eyes flickering as if lost in thought. Picking up the pancake and taking another bite, although it may not be as crispy as when it was first cooked, it does have a unique flavor. Su Xiaomu walked briskly back to the kitchen, and the idea had already been delivered. "Whether or not he could get rich depends on you. How's it going? What did Mom say?" Ian sure saw Su Xiaomu coming back and pulled her to inquire. God knows, the taste of the wild vegetable pancake just now was absolutely amazing. She could even drink 2 large bowls of water with just this fragrance. Mother said, "Let's just make up our minds." Su Xiaomu said with a smile, his eyes shining brightly. Upon hearing this, Ian became much more agile and helped Su Xiaomu cook wild vegetable pancakes. Su Xiaomu pulled out his hand and cold mixed a broomstick vegetable and ground vegetable. The smoke from the kitchen was rising, and night fell. The Gu family, who had been farming all day, all returned. As soon as he entered the yard, the boss Gu Feng wrinkled his nose and shouted, "Mom, what did you do to make it so fragrant?" Li left the yard and said angrily, "Eat and eat. Those who come to collect debts are not good. Everyone came to the table and barely saw what was on the table under the moonlight. After dividing the pancakes, he picked them up and eagerly took a bite. Click, the crispy outer skin, combined with the strong and savory inner filling, makes the person who eats it not lift their head. I wish I could pick up the crumbs on the table and eat them. Su Xiaomu held on to his cake and occasionally took a bite of cold shepherd's purse. Oh, this is what people eat. Damn it, who made this? It's even more delicious than the meat-filled buns I ate in the city 10 years ago. Mr. Gu eats very well, he hasn't eaten such delicious food in many years. Li looked thoughtful and hesitated for a moment before speaking. Do you really think it's delicious? Grandma, it's delicious. A few little guys quickly nodded. This sentence seems to have given Li a sense of reassurance. How about taking these wild vegetable pancakes to the city for sale? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was taken aback. Su Xiaomu's lips curved imperceptibly, and indeed Li sure listened to her words. Mom, can this work? If it can't be sold, how about losing money? Chen asked directly. Li rolled her eyes and said, can you give it a try? This cake is made by Xiaomu, don't you all say it's delicious? What can you compensate for? Just order the cost of corn flour, wild vegetables are dug from the ground. If it really can't be sold, send it to Jingqing. If not, just eat it at home. The Gu family has always been dominated by the Li family, and now that the Li family has made a firm decision, there is no voice of refutation from everyone. The wild vegetables I dug today were almost there. Li asked Dean and Chen to go dig some more in the morning. But a new problem has arisen. That mother, who's going to sell it? Chen's eyes rolled and he asked. She said two things about whether to sell or not, mainly because she can get into the city. She hasn't been in the city for over a year. Li, who was familiar with his wife's personality, scolded directly, let your sister.in.law go. You work at home. Chen frowned, somewhat displeased, and was about to speak. Yin spoke up, that mother, I don't know how to count. Why don't you let Xiaomu accompany me? Xiaomu can read. As soon as these words were spoken, Li was taken aback. I didn't expect that Su Xiaomu was still literate, but it was just right. Let Xiaomu follow along and take a look at Jingqing. Okay, that's settled. Su Xiaomu's heart was filled with joy, and indeed everything went as she had expected. As long as you enter the city, isn't there a way to make money? After finishing the meal, Su Xiaomu briefly washed himself up, but his body was still too delicate. He lay in bed for only a moment, and before carefully thinking about what to do tomorrow, he fell asleep. The next morning, the rooster crowed and there was noise coming from outside. Su Xiaomu stood up with one bone and suddenly patted his head. Oh no, how could he forget such an important thing yesterday? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Entering the city to make money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Entering the city to make money. After Su Xiaomu woke up and washed up, he took out the handful of chili peppers he had picked up yesterday. The man in the family went out to the ground before dawn, and Yin and Chen didn't dare to sleep much for fear of being scolded by Li, so they went up the mountain early to dig wild vegetables. She first washed all the bright red chili peppers, and then used the still burning charcoal fire in the kitchen stove to throw them all in and bake them until they were cooked. I kept poking the chili peppers with a wooden stick and changing their positions to ensure that every part was roasted. The chili peppers, covered in plant ash, quickly turned black. Su Xiaomu used two slender wooden sticks as chopsticks to pick them all out and put them into a bowl. Crush the chili peppers while they are hot, then take out the salt and spices from the cabinet and start making chili salt. The air in the kitchen quickly filled with the aroma of chili peppers. She smelled it while cooking and nodded in satisfaction. It was good, it was the flavor she wanted. What's the smell? It's like something's burnt. Unexpectedly, Yin and Chen walked towards the kitchen with a basket on their arms. After smelling the burnt smell, they both covered their noses and looked disgusted. "I'm talking about younger siblings, why are you so mischievous? You've made the kitchen look like this early in the morning. Aren't you begging for your mother's scolding?" As soon as Chen saw Su Xiaomu standing next to the stove hole, she immediately got up and spoke with a sour tone. "You can't have made a cake yesterday that was valued by your mother, and today it can be chaotic in the kitchen. It's all my fault, sister.in.law." Su Xiaomu saw that Chen Shi was getting more and more enthusiastic as she spoke, and there was no sign of restraint at all. He quickly took the lead in interrupting her, but his tone was gentle and gentle, making it hard to get angry. "This morning, I was thinking that my brothers and sister.in.law had all gone out. As a junior, I should have packed up all the cooking, but before the pot was hot, I felt so soft that I couldn't work hard and even felt sleepy." A yawn came out in response to the situation, and she stared at Chen's face full of apologies and guilt. This pitiful look made Chen suppress the unpleasant words from behind. All right, it's not a big deal. Younger sister, why don't you hurry up and go pancake making? Mom, didn't she let us go to the city today to do business? Yin came out to smooth things out. She didn't have much feelings for Su Xiaomu before, but who made her realize yesterday that Su Xiaomu could make cakes and even sell them for money. Although she is not sure how much she can earn, some earn better than none, right? Alright, can my sister.in.law help me make a fire? She approached with a smile and affectionately took Yin's hand, saying, with my sister.in.law's help, I can also make pancakes faster. Okay, you can keep the wild vegetables from the second family first. Yin sure didn't refuse, anyway, they all had to work, and everything they did was the same. Su Xiaomu cooked a total of 30 wild vegetable pancakes, almost using up the wild vegetables dug by Chen and Yin this morning. She could have cooked a few more, but this thing requires oil and noodles. The small half-can of lard at home couldn't stop her from using it, and the oil tank was empty in a few moments. Oh, from the third family, we can eat this lard for half a year. You've used up all of it for me now. Li carried the empty oil tank with a heart-wrenching expression on her face, but when Su Xiaomu handed her the baked cake, she remained silent again. Fragrance. Incense. This wild vegetable cake smells even more delicious than yesterday. Don't worry, Mom. Our pancakes are so delicious that we definitely don't have to worry about selling them. When the time comes, not to mention a can of lard, we'll all have a pot of lard. She spoke gently to the Li family, who thought for a moment but couldn't bear to part with the child or the wolf, so she followed the Yin family out. Yin brought Su Xiaomu into the city, and each of them carried a basket of wild vegetable pancakes, each covered with a coarse cloth. I walked for about an hour before entering the city. I went to the vicinity of the school, where classes haven't finished yet. Sister-in-law, we only sell this cake for 3 won each. What do you think? It's said to be a wild vegetable cake, but the meat flavor is not lacking. Line. Yin agreed, and she also thought the price was good. After all, they just came over and saw it. The vegetarian cake at the front was only 2 won each. Their wild vegetable pancakes mixed with so much lard only cost an extra penny, which is not expensive. Let's still score points and start selling, otherwise it will affect our business. Su Xiaomu curved his crescent eyes and said, Sister-in-law, just stand here and I'll go to the end of the street to sell. This doesn't work. Mom told me to keep an eye on you. What if you run away while I'm not paying attention later? Yin grabbed Su Xiaomu's arm and shook her head, she was not foolish. Su Xiaomu is worth 2 taels of silver alone, and none of their cakes add up to be worth as much as her alone. What did my sister.in.law say? My mother is so kind to me, how could I possibly run away? I still have my promissory note with my mother. The laws of the court were strict, and she had a good place to stay, so she was foolish enough to be a refugee. She whispered to Yin, Xiangong is about to finish school. After we sell the pancakes, we still have to go and give him something. Don't worry, sister. Law. I'm in the most prominent place, and you'll definitely find me. Taking out Gu Jingqing's killer weapon, as expected, Yin nodded shortly and said, okay, let's sell it separately. Su Xiaomu stood at the end of the street selling wild vegetable pancakes as she wished. She quietly took out her chili salt and deliberately stood at the window to shout, so soon a customer followed the taste and asked. How do you sell this cake? The customer has a good taste. My cake is made by kneading lard and corn flour, which is very delicious. I also added spices from other places to season it, making it much more fragrant than ordinary cakes. Su Xiaomu saw that the customer was interested and immediately took out a cake to show the customer the chili salt sprinkled on it. It looks good. How much does it cost per piece? 5-1, buying 3 tickets can save you 1-1. She has a grip on the full reduction activity. Okay, then give me 3. The customer was pleasantly satisfied, and Su Xiaomu's act of filling the cake was also fast. With such a successful start, all her wild vegetable cakes were sold out in no time. 15 wild vegetable pancakes, minus the full discount, she earned a total of 71. Finally, I have some money in my pocket. Carefully taking the extra copper coins into his arms, Su Xiaomu felt good and went to find Yin Shi with an empty basket. Yin stood there dumbfounded, with a hint of sadness between her eyebrows. At first glance, Su Xiaomu understood that this should not have opened yet. The location that Yin Shi was looking for was somewhat remote, but some guests stopped to take a look, but it was only for the first time. Moreover, the Yin family did not know how to greet people. Seeing Su Xiaomu coming, the Yin family seemed to have seen the backbone. Xiaomu, have you sold out? This is too impressive, isn't it? Neither I nor I have sold a single one. What should we do? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. A Day of Making Money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. A Day of Making Money. Yin was anxious as she watched the wild vegetables and pancakes in the basket turn cold. She was afraid of being scolded when she went back because she couldn't do things well. It's okay, sister. Law. I'll just sell it. Su Xiaomu comforted and patted Yin's palm. She smiled gently and said, all my cookies have been sold out. The customers who passed by just now smell the flavor and really like my cookies. Taking her basket from Yin's hand, he handed her his empty basket and put 5 wild vegetable pancakes at the bottom inside. My husband is going to school, why don't my sister. Law take these pancakes to him for me? How good is this? Yin quickly waved his hand and said, third brother is your man. You go ahead and do this job of delivering food. As she spoke, she wanted to retrieve her basket from Su Xiaomu's hand. But Su Xiaomu calmly grabbed the basket and begged for mercy with Yin Shi, saying softly, sister-in-law knows that I don't have much relationship with my husband, and he never likes me. How could he want me to go to the academy to see him? Everything else is fine. If my husband is unhappy and affects his studies after seeing me, then my parents will definitely take care of me. So, for the sake of my husband's future, I won't go over and just take a glance at him from afar is enough. I haven't seen him yet. As she spoke, she lowered her head and 2 blushes appeared on her cheeks. Yin Shi smiled at first glance. She couldn't help but know the little girl's thoughts. She was too shy. Okay, my sister. Law will help you with the delivery. You can stand at the tree over there and be sure to let you see what it looks like. Our Jingqing is so handsome. Su Xiaomu quickly nodded, and Yin Shi carried a basket to deliver food to Gu Jingqing. Seeing her figure disappear at the end of the alley, Su Xiaomu's face was once again covered in laughter. Delicious wild vegetable pancakes. Although Gu Jingqing is a good-looking man, can men serve as food? If it weren't for going out today and using him as a raft, she would definitely not want to have any contact with him. What about handsome guys? It's not all based on other people's descriptions. In case you see a real person and give her a picture based solely on the actual object. So who did she cry with? Humming a relaxed song in her heart, Su Xiaomu continued to sell her 5 won worth of cakes. And on the side of the Yin family, they waited at the entrance of the academy. At this moment, it happened to be the time for the academy to go to school. It was just noon when the bell for the academy to go to school rang, and the students walked out of the academy in groups of 3 or 5. Yin carefully lifted the basket and tiptoed to look for Gu Jingqing's figure. She scanned the crowd and didn't see her uncle's figure at first. In no time, Gu Jingqing was seen wearing the blue and white uniform of the academy, holding 2 books in his hand, walking out of the entrance of the academy with some of the students he had befriended. Uncle. Yin waved to Gu Jingqing in a somewhat anxious manner. If she had her usual temper, she would not have been able to make such a bold gesture. But as soon as Gu Jingqing came out, she headed towards the nearby bookstore. She was afraid that Su Xiaomu wouldn't be able to see, so her voice grew slightly louder. At this moment, Gu Jingqing also noticed the Yin family. He and his classmate arched their hands slightly and separated, walking towards the Yin family. How did Sister.in.law come at this time? Gu Jingqing saw her still holding a basket in her hand and said with a puzzled tone, I need to Xiaomu to go home in a few days. I still have the things my mother gave me last time. It's Xiaomu. Yin Shi was busy taking his words. She made wild vegetable pancakes and came to the city to sell them. She also wanted to come and see if you were doing well. Mom means she rarely cares about you and wants you to see her. It's bothering my mother. As soon as Gu Jingqing heard Su Xiaomu's name, his face immediately turned cold. He took the basket from Yin Shi's hand and spoke coldly, I won't see her anymore. Thank you, Sister.in.law, for bringing me something. Carrying a basket, Gu Jingqing and his classmate who had bought good things walked towards the academy. Yin Shi has always had no temper towards his own young uncle. It's okay if you look good, but when you talk, you have a cold and icy expression. In his man's words, people like her uncle are naturally meant to become officials. Isn't this how the officials treat these ordinary people on a daily basis? Putting aside her emotions, Yin Shi began to pity Su Xiaomu again, not knowing if she had seen it. She sighed and turned back, but didn't see Su Xiaomu. After searching around, she realized that she had already sold out all the wild vegetable cakes on the other side. She saw Yin Shi coming over, with 2 pear swirls on her lips and said, Sister-in-law, look at it. Today we have a total of 85 won. She just glanced at Gu Jingqing from a distance, but couldn't see his appearance clearly. His figure seemed a bit thin, and the robe on him was a bit bulky. Su Xiaomu patted his lips twice. Such a person shouldn't look much better, right? What, Xiaomu? You're so amazing. Your older brother used to work on the dock for a day, and he could only earn 20 copper coins. Let's just sell it for a while, that's all. Seeing so many copper coins, Yin couldn't help but get excited, even forgetting to ask if she had seen Gu Jingqing. She and her boss also save a little money on weekdays, but it's all dug out from the cracks in Li's nails. She married them for so long, but she only saved 100 won. Even after deducting costs, you can still earn 30.40 won on this day. Oh my goodness, I posted it. Xiaomu, you're so amazing. I just talked to uncle about you going out to do business. Yin Shi mentioned Gu Jingqing, and Su Xiaomu immediately lowered his head with a shy and warm voice, saying, I also want to earn more money so that my husband can study better in the academy. I saw him from afar just now. Shy, Su Xiaomu thinks he can still put on a little bit. Yin's gaze immediately became meaningful. The wild vegetable cakes have sold out, and she and Yin Shi are not in a hurry to go home for now. We ran out of lard at home. In order to make wild vegetable pancakes for sale tomorrow, we found a pork shop and cut all the lard in the shop. We also bought 2 pounds of pork belly and asked the boss to give us some big stick bones as a topper. Su Xiaomu originally planned to spend 2 copper coins on a cart when she went back, but as soon as she saw Insher walking forward with a basket in hand, she knew that today was her fate to walk. When they returned home, the sun had already set in the west, and Li had been waiting for them at home, making it difficult for them to sit still. On the one hand, he was afraid that Su Xiaomu would run away while the Yin family was unprepared, and on the other hand, he was afraid that wild vegetables and pancakes would not be sold and would be thrown into his hands, wasting his family's oily noodles. She was worried all day and didn't even take a few bites of food. Just as she was getting impatient and wanted the head of the family to go to the city to take a look, Chen suddenly excitedly pointed to the 2 hazy figures in front of her and shouted, "Mom, look, who's that?" End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Strange Men. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Strange Men. Before Su Xiaomu and Yin could even step into the house, Chen put down her embroidery work and quickly walked them into the yard. Li was waiting for them at the entrance of the courtyard. She first stared at Su Xiaomu and only then shifted her gaze to the basket carried by Yin's arm when she saw her usual smiling face. "How about it? Are pancakes selling well?" At this moment, Li was also a bit hesitant and uneasy. She was certain yesterday that this thing could make money, but she wasn't watching them go to the market to sell it herself, and she wasn't sure if they could do business well with their delicate appearance. "It's selling very well," Su Xiaomu affectionately said to Li, taking her arm and rubbing her softly. "My sister-in-law and I have set a price for the pancakes, 3 won each, and the 3 pancakes are 1 won cheaper." After entering the city, they were sold out in no time. As soon as she finished speaking, she took off her purse from her waist and handed the copper plate to Li, saying, "I sold a total of 85 won. My sister-in-law and I cut some meat from the meat shop that will be used to make pancakes tomorrow, which cost 30 won. There are still 55 won left here." Su Xiaomu explained the whereabouts of the bronze plate to Li Shi very clearly. Insher couldn't speak, so she didn't speak as quickly, so she kept nodding at this moment. "Xiaomu is right. Today, I was doing business thanks to her presence, otherwise that wild vegetable cake would have hit me." After talking to Li for a while, Su Xiaomu went to the kitchen. "Just boil the big stick bones. Then take out the pig fat and boil it. First, cut the lard into small pieces, then pour it into a pot and boil it with water. This way, the cooked lard will be more transparent than dry cooking. All the pig fat residue is refined, and the lard is placed aside to condense." She took out the white flour left at home and kneaded it with corn flour, then wrapped wonton with pig oil residue. Boil wonton with fragrant bone soup, sprinkle a handful of chives on it when it comes out of the pot, and when it is served, the whole family will eat it. After finishing the meal, Su Xiaomu originally took the initiative to wash the dishes, but Li assigned Chen to do so. She didn't snatch it either. After all, she had already realized these past few days that if she wanted to live well in this family, she still had to rely on the mother-in-law Li. When Chen was called to wash the dishes, she looked reluctant, but still didn't say a word and didn't dare to look at Li's side more. It was enough to show how well her mother-in-law usually disciplined her daughter-in-law. The next morning, Su Xiaomu followed the Yin and Chen families up the mountain to dig wild vegetables. She continued to take advantage of them not paying attention and picked up a bunch of chili peppers. Then, when she went back, she took the opportunity to make breakfast and also made chili salt. After breakfast, she and Yin went to the city again to sell wild vegetable cakes. But this time I did a bit more, about 60. Sister-in-law, let's still sell separately like yesterday. If you still don't sell well in the future, can I come over and help you? Okay, then my sister-in-law will still need your help. Insher did not refuse, and after yesterday she could see that her younger sister was a person with real abilities. And she happened to be able to take advantage of this business opportunity to change her temper. Een secretly cheered herself on in her heart, then softly shouted with a basket, selling wild vegetable cakes. Su Xiaomu made a special detour today to sell some goods, shouting and thinking whether he could still see the unjust leader from yesterday. However, today's business is slightly bleak compared to yesterday. After a quarter of an hour, she only sold 6 cakes. Jingcheng, I said you shouldn't always lock yourself up in the academy to study. The master said it's better to travel thousands of miles than to read 10,000 books. We still need to come out and walk more often, otherwise what if we read and become foolish? Su Lin, Gu Jingcheng's classmate and friend, did not eat this morning. Coincidentally, the master had something to do and had to leave school early, so he forcefully pulled Gu Jingcheng out to eat. I want to eat pancakes now. I wonder if the old cow in the east of the city is still selling meat patties. Gu Jingcheng ignored him, and Su Lin was not in a hurry. He took him to the market with ease, but today he didn't see the old cow. Instead, he smelled another aroma of pancake. Boss, what are you making this pancake for? It's a bit expensive to sell it for 5 won each, isn't it? Su Lin smelled the smell of wild vegetables and pancakes in Su Xiaomu's basket. Although it didn't smell much meat, it was unexpectedly fragrant. At this moment, he was hooked and even some greedy insects came out. The customer laughed and said, "My cake is made from lard and corn flour, and it's delicious. How could it be so expensive? And I also add exclusive spices to season it, making it much more fragrant than regular cakes." Among the guests Su Xiaomu met, he was not the first to shout expensive, so he didn't take it to heart. She rolled up a pancake with oiled paper and handed it to Su Lin, saying with a smile, "Customers, why don't you take a closer look? There are many differences between my pancake and those sold by others. Do you say this thing is mixed with lard and cornmeal?" Gu Jingcheng raised his eyes and looked at the pancake she handed him with disapproval. "What you're making is clearly a wild vegetable pancake. Although we haven't seen the spices sprinkled on it before, how can you be a precious item?" "Yeah. Did you also encounter a bar spirit?" Of course, Su Xiaomu is not angry either. She put the pancakes back in the basket and said to him with a smile, "It's okay. If this customer thinks my pancakes are not worth the price, they can either not buy them or take a look. The taste of other people's pancakes is different from ours. Anyway, she also has quite a few of their guests." After Su Xiaomu finished speaking, he turned around and prepared to go elsewhere even though the man who spoke later looked a bit handsome, had a slightly whiter skin, and was tall. She didn't look up to him. How could the boss say that? Gu Jingcheng saw her face instantly turn cold, and frowned displeasedly. The woman went out to do business and didn't talk well to customers, but instead had a sharp mouth. There is no doubt about opening the door to do business. As long as the quality of the boss's things can naturally stop you, the boss is a little guilty. Sigh, don't you two do this, be harmonious and make money. Zhou Lin saw that there was something wrong with the situation and quickly came out to fight back. How can we make money by speaking like this to the guests' friends? Su Xiaomu really didn't want to do business with the two of them. At that moment, a big customer who came to buy cakes from her yesterday came over, and Su Xiaomu immediately turned his head and ignored their presence. "The guest is here again today. How many cakes do you want to buy?" She remembered the face of this guest so suddenly yesterday, it was really amiable. "Give me all the pancakes you've made. Boss, you're really delicious. If your family sells anything else in the future, remember to let me know. I will definitely come to cheer you up, boss. The price is not a big deal, I can afford it." End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The Lovely Bully. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The Lovely Bully. After counting the pancakes, Su Xiaomu handed the basket directly to the victim. She smiled and replied to him, "What is the customer saying? I do business with my conscience and won't arbitrarily set the price of things. Although this 5-1 is a bit more expensive than vegetarian pancakes, the pork fat and corn flour I put in are both genuine and definitely not lacking in weight. As soon as she said these words, Zhou Lin and Gu Jingqing, who were standing beside her, couldn't help but feel uneasy. They are not deaf, of course. It can be heard that Su Xiaomu is mocking the two of them for not buying and still thinking things are expensive. Unfortunately, Su Xiaomu was talking to another guest again, and he didn't want to interrupt. Had to bitterly turn his head to roast Gu Jingqing roundabout. I heard that your mother has asked for a wife for you at home, but don't be as eloquent as this little girl. I see you have no good fortune to endure. Don't talk nonsense. I definitely won't get married. Gu Jingqing said without even thinking about it. That child bride marrying her was not his wish. I don't know where Zhou Lin heard it from, so he ran up to him and said this. Su Xiaomu's eyebrows twitched as he listened. What's going on? Is it common for ancient scholars to speak ill of others in front of them? She has a sharp tongue, doesn't that mean she has a sharp temper? Stubborn. It's really a small knife piercing my buttocks. It opened my eyes. The husband of the original owner, whom she had never met before, was also a scholar. If her husband were as rude as the two students in front of her, she would rather die by crashing into a pillar. The big customer next to him turned his head. A few brothers, this woman has a mischievous temperament and a unique charm. A woman like the boss with good craftsmanship and a handsome appearance, who wouldn't hurry to marry her back as a daughter. Law. If it were really that kind of delicate and gentle girl who can't do anything, a little girl who can only cry and cry, I would rather think it's a burden. After the big customer finished speaking, Su Xiaomu tilted his eyes and quietly looked at the faces of the two students. Sure enough, they looked even uglier than before. Su Xiaomu felt a sense of satisfaction in his heart. He sent the three of them away and clapped his hands to go back to find Yin Shihui. However, before that, she calculated that she had saved another 56 yuan today, and with the money from selling pancakes yesterday, she now has a total of over 100 yuan. When I went back, Yin's pancakes were also sold almost. My sister. Law did a great job today. When I came over just now, I saw many people eating our pancakes in their hands. Su Xiaomu generously praised the Yin family, and her curved crescent eyes looked cute and obedient. Thank you very much, younger brother and sister. The pancakes you made are delicious, otherwise how could they be willing to come and buy them? Yin was holding a copper coin in her hand, and now her face was also flushed with excitement. They can earn 90 yuan by selling all 30 pancakes. And their pancakes are not selling enough yet. If they could make a little more tomorrow, that would be even more. She was excited and went home with Su Xiaomu after purchasing the ingredients for making pancakes tomorrow. As soon as she got home, she immediately calculated her expenses and told Li Shi to listen. Mother, this way of making pancakes, younger siblings, can make a lot of money for our family. Yin Shi handed over all the money she and Su Xiaomu earned today to Li Shi. She deliberately lowered her voice to prevent Chen Shi from hearing, saying, excluding the money for buying things, my siblings and I made a total of 150 yuan today. If we could make more cakes tomorrow, maybe we could earn 200 to 300 yuan. With such an additional income in our family, we can live a more relaxed life than before. After all, after calculating this month, excluding costs, it's almost 2 taels of silver. 2 taels of silver. After hearing Yin's calculations, Li was shocked and couldn't even speak for a moment. Incredibly, she pursed her lips and said, this wife from the third family is so capable. Although my younger sister has skills, she is definitely an honest person. Yin and Su Xiaomu were together for 2 days, and she dared not say anything else, but in terms of dealing with people and things, she still had some understanding. My younger sister is not only smart, but also very reliable, but she always comes to me first after selling it. If I can't sell it all, she will help me sell it together. When she gave me the money for selling our pancakes, she didn't give me a penny less. Moreover, these past 2 days, she has been actively reminding me to send food to my uncle and asking if he has anything special to eat. She will make it for him tomorrow and send it over. Yin spared no effort to speak well of Su Xiaomu in front of Li. She really admires her younger sister. She used to waste her family's money on medicine. At that time, she didn't realize that she had so many ways to make money in her mind. Okay, then you can follow her well and continue selling cakes. I'll leave this family business to the two of you for now. Li pursed her lips and said. Thank you very much, Mom. My younger siblings and I will definitely do this business well. However, my younger siblings have been too busy these past few days. They have to cook when they come back tonight, and they also need to prepare the cakes for the next day in advance. This morning, she followed us up the mountain to dig wild vegetables. Yanshi said that he felt a little distressed for Su Xiaomu. My younger sister's body is so weak, I'm really afraid she won't be able to endure and her body will be damaged. Then you should help and support her more. You are a sister.in.law, and if you want me, who is a mother.in.law, to teach you anything else, won't you? Li gave her a glance, and Yin immediately understood. Anyway, since her mother had said it, she could continue to be good to her younger siblings. Su Xiaomu was kneading cakes in the kitchen. She heard someone talking in Li's room and guessed that Yin was telling Li about selling cakes these past few days. She wasn't in a hurry either. After kneading the dough, she put it aside to wake up and quietly fried the leftover chili salt this morning. Aunt San, what are you doing? Gu Ruotong, the eldest daughter of the Yin family, poked her head into the kitchen. She covered her mouth and nose with her hand, frowned, and looked at the red and white powder in the pot, saying, What does Aunt San need so much salt for? Milk says our salt needs to be used for several months. Milk says we can't waste salt. I'm not wasting it. This thing is used to wrap pancakes, as my mother knows. Moreover, if you come at the right time, Aunt San wants to ask you to do something. Su Xiaomu smiled and stroked Gu Ruotong's shoulder. In fact, she was not a few years older than her, but the original owner may have developed earlier, and this little girl can only reach her shoulders. This is the red fruit. She took out the chili peppers and let Gu Ruotong see it clearly. Tomorrow, take your little sister to the mountain to pick this fruit. Aunt San, who weighs 5 pounds, will give you a copper plate and quietly give it to you. Don't let your mother know. But isn't it necessary to give all of Aunt San's money to the nurse? This is something my mother specifically used for my business. Instead of bothering outsiders, it's better for you to earn this money. When your mother left today, she told me she wanted to save some dowry for you. Su Xiaomu half tricked and half coaxed Gu Ruotong into agreeing. As soon as the little girl put the chili peppers in her arms, Li and Yin went into the kitchen together. Don't be busy tonight, pack up and go back to sleep. Also, Ruotong, don't disturb your third aunt's rest. Go out and take your younger brother and sister to wash and sleep early. Li dismissed Gu Ruotong and took over the task of kneading noodles from Su Xiaomu's hand. In the past 2 days, both she and Yin have been learning her craft. Su Xiaomu, feeling relaxed, packed up and went back to sleep. The next day, she woke up a bit late. Li and Yin had already prepared wild vegetable cakes, and after washing up, she followed Yin into the city. This is your cake, the guest. It's 10 yuan in total. If the guest thinks it's delicious, they can come back tomorrow. I'm still in this position. As soon as Su Xiaomu took the copper plate from the guest's hand, he felt something was wrong. He looked up and saw that it was actually Yanshi standing in front of her left with a basket. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Discovered hidden money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Discovered hidden money. Su Xiaomu calmly put the copper plate into his wallet, raised a gentle smile, and said to Yanshi, sister-in-law, did you sell so fast today? If it doesn't sell quickly, how do you know that you're 2 cents more expensive than me? Yin's face became increasingly ugly. My mother and I both trust you so much, how could you do such a thing behind our backs? Su Xiaomu blinked his eyes. Yin sold things so slowly, why did she sell them out first today, like suddenly opening up the Rendu pulse? But speechless, there was no hint of panic on her face. Take out her leftover chili salt and show it to Yin Shi. This is the seasoning I accidentally made yesterday, using a fruit from our mountain. I have read about it in a book before and it is said to be a specialty of Sichuan. I just tried to make some, not to mention that it really smells good on the pancakes. With this, we can sell the pancakes at a high price. She opened the basket and Yin Shi saw that there was indeed this seasoning on the pancakes inside. Her face looked a little better and she said, you only sold it for an extra 2-1 today. Although she hasn't read a book, she still has a clear idea of how much more money she can earn if she sells each cake for an extra 2-1. Yin felt uneasy again. My sister in law, this morning I asked Ruodong to go to the mountain to collect these fruits. If you don't believe me, you can ask. I'll give her a copper plate for 5 pounds. Although it's not much, I can save some every day. When Ruodong gets married, maybe we can buy more beds and blankets. They haven't seen this thing before. I'm selling it more expensive because I want to save more money for my husband's exams. As a daughter-in-law, it doesn't matter if I have to endure more hardships. What's important is that he doesn't delay his studies. The matter of the young uncle rushing to take the exam is important, and the matter of her daughter getting married is also important. Okay. Yin thought for a moment, but didn't chew on this tongue anymore. But you're selling too much. What if they come knocking on your door? Don't worry, sister-in-law, these are all clearly priced, and you don't trust my craftsmanship. Su Xiaomu comforted Yin Shi and his mood also relaxed a lot. She still has more than a dozen cakes to sell here, and they will have to wait for some time before they can go home. Has the boss come out to sell pancakes again? Zhou Lin came out alone today to hang out. He could smell the taste of wild vegetable pancakes from a long distance. I didn't eat it last time, but I'm very greedy this time. Yes, how many customers are going to buy this time? The visitors are all guests, even if they reach out and don't hit the smiling faces. Su Xiaomu was doing business, and Zhou Lin simply bought all her cakes at once. Su Xiaomu was a bit surprised and said, do you want all 12? Your cake smells so fragrant. I didn't buy it last time, but I think there must be something special about it, so I bought it and shared it with my classmates. Okay, thank you very much to the customer. I happen to be selling new pancakes in a few days, so please remember to come and boost my business when the customer arrives. Su Xiaomu never misses any opportunity to make money. Yin nodded and walked in front of Su Xiaomu, carrying a basket. It's still that mountain road, but after walking for 2 days, Su Xiaomu has become accustomed to it. On the way, Su Xiaomu had random conversations. I have a new way of making pancakes. When I go back, I'll talk to you and my sister-in-law about it. Okay, anyway, your brain is good. Whatever you say, sister-in-law will follow you. After returning, Li was not at home, while Chen was busy cooking dinner for the family in the kitchen. Gu Ruodong was peeking at the door waiting for them to come back. As soon as he saw Su Xiaomu, he immediately ran towards her with a cloth bag in hand. Auntie, I picked a total of 3 pounds of the fruit you mentioned today. She timidly handed the cloth bag to Su Xiaomu and said, there are still many of these fruits on the mountain. If my sister-in-law still wants them tomorrow, I can pick more back. Su Xiaomu didn't expect that Gu Ruodong's work efficiency was quite high. She took the cloth bag and looked at the chili peppers inside, and then shook the weight. She was very satisfied and took out 2 copper plates from her purse and handed them to the little girl. Here, you keep it safe, she said with a slight smile on her slightly upturned lips, thank you, Auntie. As soon as she saw the money, the little girl's eyes lit up, but as soon as she saw Insher walking towards this side from behind, her smile disappeared and she looked timid again. Carefully handing the copper plate to the Yin family, Gu Ruodong dared not lift his head and said, "Mother, this is the money my third aunt gave me for picking fruits. Mother, please keep it. Since it's your third aunt who gave it to you, why don't you keep it for yourself and do it for me?" Yin didn't take her daughter's money, but pulled Su Xiaomu and said, "Tell your sister-in-law about your new method later." After speaking, he pulled Su Xiaomu into the room. Seeing that her mother had not taken her money, Gu Ruodong happily stuffed the copper plate into his wallet and went to play with his younger brother and sister. Today is Chen's cooking. Yesterday's leftover pig oil residue was mixed with wild vegetables and fried. One person steamed a wild vegetable steamed bun. Although there was not much rice in congee, it was barely water to drink. This kind of food, Su Xiaomu didn't even glance at it before, but now she fell into a long silence as she watched the Gu family eat more and more delicious food. After finishing the meal, Su Xiaomu took away the task of washing dishes. After washing the dishes, Su Xiaomu also made her chili peppers in the kitchen. Stir-fry chopped chili peppers and pig oil residue together until fragrant, and add more salt to season. She took a shallow-mouthed pottery jar and put the chili peppers in it, intending to spread them on the cake tomorrow. From the third family. As soon as Su Xiaomu finished making the chili sauce, Li stood outside the kitchen, smiling at her. "Come here, Mom has something to say to you." Li waved at her with a friendly expression, then took out 5 yuan coins and handed them to Su Xiaomu. This money made her feel hot, so she quickly returned it to Li and said, "Mom, what are you doing with this money?" Your sister-in-law has told me that you have earned more money. My mother knows that you are all for the good of this family. Since you have been thinking about the third child in your heart, I can rest assured that you should keep this thing for yourself. If you encounter anything you want to buy in the city in the future, you can also spend money to buy it yourself." The more Li looked at her, the more satisfied she became. She patted her hand and then said, "From now on, when you come back from selling things every day, Mom will give you some money. Mom still wants to wait for the third person to come back and let you two have more opportunities, preferably before the Chinese New Year." She glanced meaningfully at Su Xiaomu's belly and smiled silently. That gaze really made Su Xiaomu feel creepy. The next day, when she was selling cookies with Insher, she was still feeling unwell all over. "But today's business is good, and I happened to run into a market. I usually have to buy pancakes for more than an hour, and they were sold out in 2/4 of an hour today. Everyone really likes to eat this chili sauce, and some people ask her if this chili sauce is sold separately. Sister-in-law, this is the 5 yuan money that my mother gave me yesterday. You should keep these 2 yuan. I have a little heart for you." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Conquering the Yin Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Conquering the Yin Family. Su Xiaomu is now enthusiastic about wooing the Yin family. Yin is currently the most important person in this family besides Li, who needs to maintain good relationships. They stayed together every day selling cakes, and even if there was a slight disturbance on her side, Yin could quickly notice it. "What are you doing? This is what my mother gave you. Where is Yin willing to accept this money?" She waved her hand and repeatedly said, "My sister-in-law can't take your money. If it weren't for you, where would my family, Ruotong, have any money to make? As a sister-in-law, I should thank you. How can I say thank you about my relationship with my sister-in-law? You can accept it. After I recovered from my illness, my sister-in-law often took care of me. I'm not foolish, knowing that my sister-in-law genuinely treated me like a younger sister." Yin only accepted the money after hearing herself say this. Su Xiaomu smiled and said with satisfaction, "Then let's pack up and go back." They made 60 more pancakes today, half of which were the same as before, and the other half was coated with newly made chili sauce. The total income today is 295 won. After Ian gave the money to Lee, she satisfactorily took out 8 copper coins from it and divided them into 4 pieces. From now on, we will all do the same. As long as it sells well, both of you can get some money from it. After Lee finished speaking, she looked at Su Xiaomu with satisfaction and said, "The third family is capable. As long as you follow her well, you won't suffer any losses. My sister-in-law also teaches me many things well, so I want to learn from her." Su Xiaomu smiled and distributed a portion of the credit to the Yin family. The 3 of them laughed at each other's words, making Chen, who was sweeping the floor in the yard, see them and almost gritted her teeth in anger. "There is a way to make money, but you don't take me with you. You go out and see the world every day, leave me alone at home, right?" Chen was angry and raised her nose and eyes at Gu Ruotong as she passed by. "What are you looking at? Your mother has the ability to make money now, so you look down on your second aunt, right?" Chen's voice was extremely loud, and Gu Ruotong, who was also a timid girl, was so scared that tears streamed down her face. "Auntie. I don't have it." As soon as Ian heard her daughter's grievances, she rushed out to protect Gu Ruotong and said, "You're the same. I didn't see your second aunt sweeping the floor here. Why did you come in front of her when you had nothing to do? Look, the floor that was just cleaned has been stomped on again." After scolding Gu Ruotong, Ian turned around to look at Chen and said, "I'm sorry, younger siblings, the child doesn't understand. If a child doesn't understand, adults need to teach him well. Sister-in-law, don't blame me for being talkative. Ruotong, this child is just a bit foolish." Chen saw Ian come out to speak to Gu Ruotong, while Li was still in the room and Su Xiaomu stood behind. She didn't want to provoke Li's displeasure, but she couldn't help but want to have a strange expression. A 12-year-old girl will become someone else's daughter-in-law in a few years. Don't always spoil her, sister-in-law. Why bother arguing with the child, sister-in-law? It's just a small matter. Speaking of which, my mother just told my sister-in-law that she will take you to the city to do business in a few days. Su Xiaomu stood behind for a while and noticed that the 2 of them were very angry. He came out happily to make amends and said, "Second sister-in-law is so capable. She must be better at doing business than us." "Really? Does the mother really say that?" Upon hearing that she could sell pancakes with them, Chen's tone instantly softened, and her heart immediately softened. "I didn't originally have the idea of snatching your business, but when I was at my mother's house, I also helped her sell handkerchiefs. If I could sell cookies with you. But it's still up to the mother." Li was inside the room, and Chen could only hold Su Xiaomu to ask questions. Ian took this opportunity to call Gu Ruotong into the room to take care of her younger sister and cook dinner. The elder brother of the Gu family returns every day by stepping on the sunset point. Today, Yan Shi cooked. She was always the most economical of the 3 daughter-in-law, so she didn't see meat at night, and even congee was a little thinner than yesterday. Su Xiaomu can't eat, but she can't talk when she sees that the whole family is satisfied. She can only sip congee. The leader's family. Halfway through the meal, Li put down her chopsticks and looked at Ian, who was feeling a bit uneasy after being called out. These days are busy with farming and tiring to work in the fields. I will cook more rice in the future. Our chicken lays a lot of eggs. I will make 3 more stir-fried eggs in the pan these days. As soon as these words were spoken, the whole family's gaze was fixed on Li Shi. Of course, the 2 brothers Gu Feng and Gu Hai didn't say much, and Gu Feng gave a silly smile. This relationship is good, I'll say my mother loves us the most. Chen's eyes twitched as he realized that living a better life was one aspect, and most importantly, his 2 sons were growing physically. She was happy in her heart and couldn't suppress the smile on her face. Li didn't get angry when she saw her appearance, but continued, "You heard what the third family said today. Mothers treat you daughters-in-law equally. Now our family has plenty of money. As long as you do a good job, it's not a problem to take some money from me." Li emphasized the words, "doing a good job," and although Chen could hear that she was beating herself, she was truly aware that Su Xiaomu was not joking. Li was really willing to let her get involved in the family business. So she immediately answered without any hesitation, saying, "Don't worry, Mom. I will definitely take good care of the household. If my younger siblings and sister-in-law need any help, I will go and help them immediately." After speaking like a curse, he eagerly took over the dishwashing task from Su Xiaomu's hands after finishing his meal. She gained benefits and got along much better with Su Xiaomu when talking. "My younger siblings are really capable people. They have only been doing business for a few days and have earned so much money for our family. If you become prosperous in the future, don't forget to bring your sister-in-law. In this family, sister-in-law is not thin on you, right? Of course, sister-in-law, we are all one family. It's hard to say who we rely on, we all support each other." Chen had a small heart, so she didn't need to have any grudges with her. Instead, she accepted her offer and washed the bowl for her, feeling relaxed and happy. She went to bed early at night and got up the next day to make Yin's pancakes. She made chili sauce. Nowadays, business is getting better and better day by day. As soon as the stall is set up in the market, 3 or 2 regular customers come to help with the business. There are still acquaintances whom I haven't seen in a few days. "How many cakes does Mr. Zhou want this time?" Zhou Lin is also considered a regular customer here, and I don't know what this person thinks. Since eating pancakes once, it seems like he has become addicted and comes over every 3 to 5 days. There is also a cold-faced god beside me. "Just the chili sauce you gave me last time. This time, apply a little more on the cake. This sauce has an interesting taste, and I haven't eaten it anywhere else except for you." Zhou Lin quickly closed the folding fan in his hand and pointed the handle at the chili sauce and gu jingqing in the pottery jar, saying, "This thing was spread on the cake I gave you last time. Didn't you also say that the taste was good?" "Yes, it's okay." Gu Jingqing stood beside him without saying a word, holding a book in his hand with an indifferent expression that did not fluctuate at all. His eyes were deep and bright, unable to tell whether he liked or disliked. It seems like it's not him who argued with Su Xiaomu before. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Trading Chili Sauce. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Trading Chili Sauce. So I said, "Boss, you have good craftsmanship. My classmate is very picky about what he eats, and ordinary food doesn't even get into his mouth." Zhou Lin took the cake from Su Xiaomu's hand and looked at the red chili sauce salivating uncontrollably in his mouth. He couldn't help but ask, "Boss, do you sell this sauce? Give me a price. If it's suitable, I'll buy this sauce alone." "Buy chili sauce?" Su Xiaomu's eyebrows were beating. "Money doesn't make a profit, it's a fool. This chili sauce is easy to make and doesn't waste much. The profit margin is high." "Okay, that's fine, but there's something I need to talk to you about earlier, young Master Zhou. The price is 50 yuan per can, but I can only give it to you tomorrow. I still have to keep the rest for business today." "Okay, 51 is 51. It's still tomorrow at this time. I'll come here and ask the boss for you to pick it up." Zhou Lin is not in a hurry about this. After the two discussed, Zhou Lin gave a deposit of 20 first, and then accompanied Gu Jingqing to the bookstore to hand over the books. Su Xiaomu watched as the two of them turned their heads and entered the bookstore. She had just smelled the strong ink fragrance on those books, which made her suspicious. Can you have spare money to buy sauces to satisfy your appetite, but also need to work hard to make a living and copy books for bookstores? Will a person who is so generous also lack money? She weighed the 20 copper coins in her hand and really didn't understand what these wealthy people were thinking. The pancakes sold quickly, and Su Xiaomu was very happy all day because he received a big business deal. She was happy all the way, causing Yin to keep looking back at her. The business ended early, and when she got home, it was not long after noon. The two brothers Gu Feng and Gu Hai finished their meal and went back to their room to rest. Chen sat under the pear tree in the yard, embroidering handkerchiefs. She was skilled and could embroider 7 or 8 handkerchiefs a month if she had free time. She saved up money to sell, and also had a few tens of one. Ruotong. Su Xiaomu called Gu Ruotong over as soon as she entered the door. She looked around and saw that no one was looking towards her. Then she said to her, "Pack up your things, let's go up the mountain and pick fruits together." Gu Ruotong told her yesterday that she needs to wash the clothes of her family today and hasn't had time to go up the mountain to pick fruits yet. "Okay, then I'll call out all my siblings. The little girl is someone who won't refuse people, and she really likes this little ant with crescent-shaped eyes." She nodded and was ready to call out. However, Su Xiaomu shook his head and whispered to her, "No need, just the two of us will go." Carrying a cloth bag up the mountain, Su Xiaomu finished picking up all the nearby chili peppers. "Prepare to keep the seeds, there will be no need to go up the mountain next year." Gu Ruotong, who was following her, stared at everything in front of her and couldn't believe it. Her weak third aunt usually can't lift her shoulders, how can she now carry the burden with a fierce expression on her face? She carefully followed behind Su Xiaomu to pick up the leek. When she went home to weigh, she weighed about 3 pounds. Su Xiaomu generously gave her 2 copper coins and bought all the chili peppers in her hand. Wash the chili peppers thoroughly, chop them into small pieces, and stir-fry with the remaining pig oil residue. The aroma and spiciness are overwhelming. Divide the portion to be sold to Chen Lin from the one to be sold tomorrow, and she easily cooked the rice. Su Xiaomu was reluctant to use oil when cooking, so the unpleasant wild vegetables were soaked in water to remove their astringency, and then stirred with heavy salt and oil, emitting a lingering fragrance. "My third wife's cooking is delicious, and this is the most satisfying meal I've had in the past 2 days." After Mr. Gu had eaten his fill, he rubbed his stomach and sighed as he cleared the last bowl of rice from his bowl. "Dad, big brother, and second brother are taking care of our family's livelihood every day. There's not much we can do, as long as we can make you eat well and have the energy to work, it won't be a drag." She skillfully said what Li was satisfied with and gave the bowl to Chen to wash. The next morning, Su Xiaomu and Yin walked into the city in the hazy mist. Today, they went to the market. Although they rushed into the city in time to open the city gate, they still couldn't grab a good seat in the market. Fortunately, as soon as the two parted ways, they each started selling at the end of the street. There were many passers-by passing by, and Su Xiaomu didn't have to worry about selling the pancakes. However, she had been waiting for Zhou Lin to come and get the chili sauce, so even after selling the pancakes, she didn't rush to leave. However, the person who was supposed to come did not show up, and instead had a less likable face. "I was entrusted by Brother Zhou to come to you for the chili sauce he ordered yesterday." Gu Jingqing took the purse from his waist and counted out 30 copper coins, handing them to Su Xiaomu. "This is the remaining money, just count it," he said. "All right, this is chili sauce, the size of the pottery jar I'm selling, and it hasn't changed as I said yesterday." Su Xiaomu didn't have a good impression of the man in front of her, but since he was a guest, she didn't care about personal likes or dislikes. The man in front of her only collected chili sauce, but stood motionless in front of her. The hand holding the pottery jar seemed to exert a slight force, but it didn't look as friendly anyway. "What does this mean, guest?" Su Xiaomu was suspicious in her heart. Although she said she had never done his business, at least that young Master Zhou was also her old customer and even spent a huge amount of money to buy her chili sauce. They shouldn't be enemies between them. A puzzled gaze scanned him up and down. Gu Jingqing noticed her gaze, and his face remained unchanged. However, there was a hint of coldness in his words. If what you make causes someone to eat bad food and have an accident, according to the laws of the court, you will have to compensate for all your property and go to jail. Su Xiaomu was really speechless in his heart. Being in a relationship so early is reminding her to be a good businessman and not to make malicious money, right? Did she provoke him? The visitor is a guest. The visitor is a guest. After silently reciting these words many times in his heart, Su Xiaomu raised his smiling face and said happily, "Young master, don't worry. My cake and this sauce are definitely made of fresh ingredients. Although I haven't read a book, I still understand the principle of being fair between the old and the young. Besides, if the young master has doubts in his heart, he may not come to the young woman to buy things. After all, the young woman has never wielded a knife and insists on doing this business with the young master's friends. Sharp teeth and sharp mouth." After listening to her words, Gu Jingqing's face became even colder. He coldly threw down 4 words and left with chili sauce in hand. He was just a kind reminder that Mrs. Zhou didn't like Zhou Lin buying these foods outside. If something really happened, she would definitely be blamed. But I never thought she was so ungrateful. Su Xiaomu clenched his fist and felt an urge to hit someone. Holding a breath, carrying a bamboo basket, I wanted to find the Yin family. But when I passed the meat store, I suddenly felt greedy for the taste of braised pork belly. I gritted my teeth and bought 2 pounds of pork belly for 20.41. Suddenly, there was a slight pain in the flesh. But she hasn't eaten meat for 3 or 4 days, except for the wonton that day. Just indulge yourself. After having a tough time with the boss, he gave her 2 big stick bones as a bonus. Today, I went back to make delicious braised pork belly and boil another pot of bone soup. If only there was bean curd. When I sucked the bean curd full of bone soup, I felt that my mouth was watering. Su Xiaomu Hasha, carrying a full basket, went to find the Yin family. If Li knew, she wouldn't be angry, would she? End of this chapter.